Everyone laughed when 17-year-old Maya Rodriguez walked into the main repair bay at Valley Electric Vehicle Solutions. The shop owner, a sharp-suited man named Mr. Harrison, dared the janitor's daughter in her worn sneakers to diagnose an electric car that had stumped his best EV technicians for 3 weeks. Diagnostic computers showed nothing but error codes, charging systems failed every test, and the vehicle seemed to have a mind of its own. But when Maya looked at the car's data, what she discovered made every adult in the room freeze. No one was prepared for what she revealed that day. Your support is everything. It helps me bring you more mind-blowing stories about hidden conspiracies that affect us all. If you're ready to question everything you thought you knew about technology, smash that subscribe button and like this video. I'm curious, where are you watching from? Comment your location below and let's see how global this community of truth seekers really is. Maya's about to expose something that will make you look at every electric car differently. Now let's begin. The morning sun cast long shadows across the concrete floor of Valley Electric Vehicle Solutions as Maya Rodriguez slipped through the back door at 6:30 a.m. Her father, Carlos, had been the shop's janitor for 4 years, ever since the place opened as one of the first independent EV repair facilities in the valley. Maya wasn't supposed to be there this early, but summer break meant she had nowhere else to go, and her father couldn't afford childcare for his 17-year-old daughter who was too young to work but too old to ignore. Maya moved quietly through the shop, her canvas sneakers making no sound on the polished floor. The repair bay smelled of electrical components and cleaning solutions, a mixture of ozone and industrial soap that had become as familiar as home. She had grown up around cars, but these were different. No rumbling engines, no exhaust fumes, just the quiet hum of electric motors and the occasional beep of diagnostic equipment. The shop specialized in electric vehicle repairs for brands that the big dealerships couldn't or wouldn't handle efficiently. Nissan Leafs with battery issues, Chevy Bolts with charging problems, Ford Mustang Mach-Es with software glitches. Valley EV Solutions had built a reputation for solving the impossible cases, the vehicles that left other shops scratching their heads and sending customers away. Maya had watched the technicians work for years, absorbing their conversations like a sponge. She understood voltage and amperage, knew the difference between AC and DC charging, could identify a thermal management issue by the pattern of warning lights on a dashboard. None of this was formal education. It was survival learning, the kind that came from having nowhere else to go and eyes that never stopped watching. Her father emerged from the office area, pushing a cart loaded with cleaning supplies. Carlos Rodriguez was a proud man who took his work seriously, even if others didn't always take him seriously. "Maya, you're early," he said in Spanish, then switched to English. "Remember, today is important. Corporate inspection from the manufacturer. Stay invisible, okay?" Maya nodded. He knew the drill. When important people came to the shop, the janitor's daughter became a ghost. But something about today felt different. There was tension in the air, a nervous energy among the technicians who were already arriving for the morning shift. By 8 a.m., the shop was buzzing with unusual activity. Maya watched from the supply closet as 3 men in expensive suits walked through the main entrance, led by shop owner David Harrison. And he was using what Maya had learned to recognize as his important client voice. The lead suit was a tall, thin man with silver hair and cold blue eyes. He carried himself like someone accustomed to being the smartest person in any room. "Mr. Harrison," his voice carried easily across the shop floor, "we appreciate you taking on this special diagnostic case. As you know, this vehicle represents a significant investment in next-generation technology." Behind them, a flatbed truck was carefully maneuvering a pristine white electric SUV into the bay. "The issue," the silver-haired man continued, "is intermittent but critical. The vehicle occasionally refuses commands, the navigation system routes to unexpected destinations, and most troubling, the emergency systems appear to activate randomly. 3 dealerships and 2 manufacturer service centers have been unable to identify the problem." Harrison nodded eagerly. "Mr. Blackwood, we specialize in complex diagnostics. My senior technician, Rodriguez," he gestured to a grizzled man in coveralls, "has 15 years of experience with automotive electrical systems." Not Carlos, Maya thought with a slight smile. The other Rodriguez. Senior technician Miguel Rodriguez, no relation to Maya or her father, approached the vehicle with professional confidence. Miguel connected his diagnostic tablet to the vehicle's port and immediately frowned. "That's strange," he muttered, loud enough for Maya to hear from her hiding spot. "I'm getting multiple protocol rejections. It's like the car doesn't want to talk to our equipment." For the next 2 hours, Maya watched as Miguel and 2 other technicians threw everything they had at the mysterious SUV. By 11 a.m. the tension in the shop had reached a breaking point. Maya watched from behind a workbench as Mr. Blackwood's patience visibly thinned. His originally composed demeanor had cracked, revealing something colder underneath. "Gentlemen," Blackwood's voice carried a sharp edge, "I was assured that Valley EV Solutions could handle complex diagnostics. What I'm seeing suggests otherwise." Harrison's face flushed. "Sir, this is highly unusual. We've never encountered anything like this. The vehicle's computer systems seem to be actively resisting analysis." "Perhaps," Blackwood said, his tone dripping with condescension, "the problem isn't the vehicle. Perhaps it's the level of expertise available here." Maya watched Miguel's shoulders tense. The senior technician had been working non-stop, sweat beading on his forehead despite the air conditioning. "With respect, sir," Miguel said carefully, "I've never seen a vehicle that wouldn't respond to any diagnostic protocol. It's like it's running completely different software." That was when Maya's elbow knocked over a tool cart. The clatter echoed through the shop like a gunshot. Every head turned toward the sound, and Maya found herself frozen in the sudden spotlight of attention. Harrison's face went pale then red. "Maya," he snapped. "What are you doing in the work area? You know better than this." But Blackwood had a different reaction. His cold blue eyes fixed on Maya with sudden interest, and a slow smile spread across his face. It wasn't a pleasant smile. "Who is this?" he asked, his voice carrying a dangerous curiosity. "Nobody important," Harrison said quickly. "Just the janitor's daughter. Maya, go help your father clean the office." But Blackwood raised a hand to stop her. "Wait." He studied Maya for a long moment, taking in her worn clothes, her nervous expression, her position near the diagnostic equipment. "The janitor's daughter, you said? How long has she been watching our little technical difficulties?" "Sir, she has nothing to do with." "I have an idea," Blackwood interrupted, his smile growing wider and more unsettling. "Since our professional technicians seem to be stumped, perhaps we should try a fresh perspective. Tell me, young lady, do you know anything about cars?" Maya felt every eye in the shop focus on her. Her father had appeared from somewhere, his face a mask of worry and embarrassment. Miguel looked sympathetic but helpless. Harrison appeared ready to have a heart attack. "A little," Maya said quietly. "Excellent." Blackwood's voice carried the tone of a man about to enjoy a private joke. "Since you've been observing our diagnostic challenges so carefully, perhaps you'd like to try your hand at solving our little mystery? What do you say, everyone? Shall we give the janitor's daughter a chance to succeed where professionals have failed?" The silence that followed was deafening. Maya could hear her heart pounding in her ears, feel the weight of expectation and mockery pressing down on her shoulders. But something else stirred in Maya's chest. She had been watching, listening, learning. And she had noticed something that the professionals had missed. "Okay," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I'll try." Maya approached the white SUV with careful steps, aware that every movement was being scrutinized. The vehicle sat in the center of the bay like a sleeping predator. "Can I see the error logs from the last hour?" she asked Miguel. "Maya," Harrison hissed, "don't waste Mr. Blackwood's time with." "Let her work," Blackwood interrupted, his voice carrying amusement. "I'm curious to see what fresh insights our young genius might provide." Miguel handed her the diagnostic tablet, his expression apologetic. The screen showed a cascade of error codes, system timeouts and communication failures. To most people it would look like digital gibberish. But Maya had been watching these patterns for hours and she had noticed something. "These errors," she said, pointing to specific entries on the screen, "they're not random. Look at the timestamps." She showed the tablet to Miguel. "Every diagnostic attempt fails after exactly 17 seconds. Not 16, not 18. Always 17. And the error codes follow a sequence. They're not actually random failures." Miguel leaned closer, his professional interest overriding the strangeness of the situation. "You're right. I hadn't noticed the timing pattern." "That's because you were focused on solving the errors," Maya continued, her confidence growing. "But what if the errors are the solution? What if this car isn't broken? What if it's pretending to be broken?" The words hung in the air like smoke. Blackwood's amused expression faltered slightly. Harrison opened his mouth then closed it again. Maya continued before anyone could interrupt. "Look at the power consumption data," she said, scrolling through screens on the tablet. "During each diagnostic attempt, there's a small spike in processing power that doesn't correspond to any normal vehicle operation. The car is running additional software, something that's not supposed to be there." She looked up at the circle of faces around her. "This isn't a malfunction. This vehicle is running a hidden program designed to prevent diagnosis. Someone programmed it to lie." "That's because you were focused on solving the errors," Maya continued, her confidence growing. But what if the errors are the solution? What if this car isn't broken? What if it's pretending to be broken? The words hung in the air like smoke. Blackwood's amused expression faltered slightly. Harrison opened his mouth, then closed it again. Maya continued before anyone could interrupt. Look at the power consumption data, she said, scrolling through screens on the tablet. During each diagnostic attempt, there's a small spike in processing power that doesn't correspond to any normal vehicle operation. The car is running additional software, something that's not supposed to be there. She looked up at the circle of faces around her. This isn't a malfunction. This vehicle is running a hidden program designed to prevent diagnosis. Someone programmed it to lie. The words hit the group like a physical blow. Blackwood's mask of polite interest finally slipped, revealing something cold and calculating underneath. That's quite enough speculation for one day. I think we should. No, Maya interrupted, surprising herself with her own boldness. There's more. She had their attention now, all of it focused with laser intensity. Her father made a small gesture, trying to warn her away, but Maya couldn't stop. The pieces were falling into place too clearly, the picture too frightening to ignore. The navigation errors you mentioned, she continued, routes to unexpected destinations. What if those aren't errors either? What if this car can be controlled remotely, driven anywhere someone wants it to go? She turned to face Blackwood directly. What if the emergency systems aren't activating randomly? What if someone can trigger them on command? The silence stretched until it became unbearable. Then Blackwood began to clap, slow and deliberate. Brilliant, he said, his voice carrying a new quality that made Maya's skin crawl. Absolutely brilliant. You've managed to stumble onto something that took our best engineers months to develop. Harrison stepped forward. Mr. Blackwood, what exactly are you saying? Blackwood ignored him, keeping his focus on Maya. Tell me, young lady, have you shared these insights with anyone else? Posted them online perhaps? Discussed them with friends? She's 17, Carlos finally spoke up, his accent thick with stress. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Oh, but she does, Blackwood replied. She knows exactly what she's talking about. The question is, what do we do about that knowledge? The atmosphere in the shop had shifted from professional tension to something far more dangerous. Maya felt it like a change in air pressure before a storm. Blackwood's two companions, silent until now, had moved to positions that happened to block the main exits. What had started as a diagnostic challenge was becoming something else entirely. Mr. Blackwood, Harrison said, his voice carefully controlled, I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding here. If there are proprietary systems in this vehicle that we weren't informed about. Oh, there's no misunderstanding, Blackwood replied, his attention still fixed on Maya. Your young diagnostician has identified exactly what she was supposed to miss. The question now is damage control. Maya felt her father's hand on her shoulder, gentle but protective. Miguel had set down his diagnostic equipment and was edging toward the emergency phone on the wall. The two suited men noticed his movement and shifted to cut off his access. The vehicle, Blackwood continued as if explaining something to children, is part of a limited field test. Remote operation capabilities for emergency situations, you understand. Sometimes the authorities need to redirect a vehicle that poses a security threat. Or that contains someone who poses a security threat, Maya said quietly. The words slipped out before she could stop them, but as soon as she spoke she knew she was right. The implications hit her like a physical blow. Cars that could be controlled remotely. Emergency systems that could be triggered on command. Vehicles that could be driven anywhere someone wanted them to go. Very good, Blackwood said approvingly. Yes, sometimes the contents of a vehicle are more important than the vehicle itself. Imagine the possibilities. A suspected terrorist who thinks he's driving to safety, only to find his car taking him directly to a detention facility. A whistleblower trying to reach a reporter, redirected instead to a more private conversation. Harrison had gone pale. This is insane. You can't just take control of people's cars. Can't we? Blackwood's smile was sharp as broken glass. Every modern vehicle is a computer on wheels. Navigation systems, collision avoidance, emergency braking, all controlled by software. Software that can be updated, modified, overridden. The infrastructure already exists. We simply expanded its capabilities. Maya's mind raced through the implications. How many vehicles? She asked. Curious to the end, Blackwood observed. Currently, about 12,000 units in the field test. But the rollout is accelerating. By next year we expect to have capability in over 2 million vehicles. Eventually, of course, all new electric vehicles will include the enhanced features. For public safety, you understand. Public safety, Miguel repeated, his voice hollow. Exactly. Consider the benefits. Vehicles that can't be used in terrorist attacks because we can simply shut them down. Cars that automatically drive suspects to police stations. Emergency responders who can commandeer any vehicle for critical missions. It's a law enforcement revolution. And the emergency systems? Maya pressed, though part of her didn't want to know the answer. Blackwood's smile widened. Sometimes a target is too dangerous to apprehend alive. Sometimes an unfortunate accident is the most elegant solution. Electric vehicle batteries, when properly motivated, burn very hot and very fast. Complete destruction of evidence, including any inconvenient passengers. The shop fell silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant sound of traffic. Maya felt sick. She had uncovered something worse than corporate fraud or government surveillance. She had stumbled onto a systematic program of technological tyranny hidden in plain sight. Now, Blackwood continued, his tone becoming businesslike, we have a problem. You've seen too much, learned too much, connected too many dots. Normally, we would simply arrange for you to have a conversation with some colleagues who specialize in managing security risks. But you're 17, which creates certain complications. Blackwood pulled out his phone and typed a quick message. Fortunately, we have other options available. Sometimes the best way to handle a security leak is to demonstrate the consequences of curiosity. Suddenly, every light in the shop flickered and died. Emergency lighting kicked in, casting eerie red shadows across the bay. The diagnostic equipment went dark, computer screens blinked off, and even the electric vehicle chargers powered down with audible clicks. What the hell? Harrison stammered. Maya heard the sound before she saw it, the quiet whir of electric motors starting up. In the dim red lighting, she watched in horror as 3 electric vehicles in the service bay began moving on their own. No drivers, no visible control, just cars rolling forward with deliberate precision. Remote demonstration, Blackwood said calmly, his phone still in his hand. These vehicles are equipped with our enhanced control systems. Observe. One of the cars, a silver sedan that had been parked near the wall, suddenly accelerated directly toward Miguel. The technician dove aside as the car smashed into a tool cabinet, sending wrenches and diagnostic equipment flying. Stop this. Carlos shouted, grabbing Maya's arm and pulling her toward the back exit. But the exit was blocked. A blue SUV had positioned itself across the doorway, its engine humming ominously. Maya realized with growing terror that they were trapped in a garage with weaponized vehicles controlled by a man with no conscience. The beauty of our system, Blackwood continued conversationally, even as people scrambled for safety around him, is the plausible deniability. Tragic accident at local repair shop. Equipment malfunction leads to multiple casualties. Very sad, very random, very untraceable. The white SUV that had started this whole nightmare suddenly roared to life, its tires spinning against the concrete floor as it lurched forward. Maya saw it aiming directly at her father and acted without thinking. She grabbed a hydraulic jack and slammed it down on the vehicle's charging port, sending sparks flying. The car stopped abruptly, its systems flickering between normal and malicious control. Interesting, Blackwood observed. Physical damage to the interface ports disrupts remote commands. I'll make a note of that vulnerability for future updates. Before anyone could respond to Blackwood's demonstration of vehicular terrorism, Maya heard the screech of tires outside. Through the shop windows she could see more vehicles moving in the parking lot, cars starting themselves, backing out of spaces, forming what looked like a protective perimeter around the building. Lockdown protocol activated, Blackwood announced. No one leaves until our business is concluded. But Maya had noticed something during the chaos. When she had damaged the charging port on the white SUV, its erratic behavior had stopped. The connection between the vehicle and its remote controllers had been severed by physical damage to the interface. Miguel, she shouted over the sound of moving vehicles. The charging ports. If we can damage the external connections, the cars lose remote capability, Miguel finished, understanding immediately. He grabbed a crowbar from the scattered tools and ran toward the silver sedan that had nearly crushed him. Stop, Blackwood commanded, but his attention was divided between controlling multiple vehicles through his phone and tracking the people trying to escape his mechanical net. Maya saw her opportunity. The blue SUV blocking the rear exit was still connected to its charger. If she could reach the cable, disconnect it violently enough to damage the port. She sprinted toward the vehicle as it began to move, trying to trap her against the wall. At the last second she dropped to the ground and rolled under the moving car, her hand closing around the thick charging cable. With all her strength she yanked upward, feeling the connector tear free from the vehicle's charging port in a shower of sparks. The SUV immediately stopped moving, its systems reverting to normal operation. "The cables," she yelled to her father and Harrison. "Destroy the charging connections." Chaos erupted as everyone in the shop began attacking the interface ports of the remotely controlled vehicles. Blackwood's two associates tried to stop them, but Miguel and Carlos were fighting with the desperation of people whose lives depended on disabling the mechanical weapons surrounding them. "Enough," Blackwood shouted, his composure finally cracking completely. He raised his phone like a weapon. "Emergency protocol. All units, maximum acceleration toward targets." The remaining connected vehicles lurched forward with deadly intent, but their movements were becoming erratic as people continued severing their remote connections. Maya found herself face to face with the original white SUV, which had somehow re-established its connection and was bearing down on her with murderous precision. She had nowhere to run. The vehicle filled her vision, its silent electric motor making its approach seem almost supernatural. This was how it would end, killed by a car that had become a remote-controlled missile. Then the front doors of the shop exploded inward, and a woman in a Navy business suit rolled through the opening, followed by armed federal agents who immediately took cover behind the disabled vehicles. Federal agents. Everyone down. Agent Reyes took in the scene with professional calm. Disabled vehicles, scattered tools, terrified civilians, and a man holding a phone like a weapon of mass destruction. "Signal jammers now," she commanded. Immediately, one of her agents activated a device that filled the air with electronic interference. The white SUV that had been bearing down on Maya stuttered to a halt as its remote connection died. Around the shop, the remaining mobile vehicles stopped moving, their remote control systems severed. Blackwood stared at his now useless phone with genuine shock. "You don't understand what you're interfering with." "I understand perfectly," Agent Reyes replied, her weapon trained on him. "Unauthorized deployment of vehicle control systems, attempted murder with mechanical weapons, and conspiracy to commit domestic terrorism. Mr. Blackwood, you're under arrest." But Blackwood wasn't finished. As his associates surrendered to the federal agents, he pulled a small device from his pocket. Something that looked like a garage door opener but felt infinitely more dangerous. "This," he said, his voice carrying a new kind of desperation, "is a direct override. It doesn't use the same communication protocols as the phones. It can't be jammed. And it's programmed for one very specific function." Maya felt ice form in her stomach. "What function?" "Battery detonation," Blackwood replied with a sick smile. "Every electric vehicle battery can be induced to thermal runaway, catastrophic overheating that leads to fire and explosion. This device can trigger that reaction in any electric vehicle within a half-mile radius." Through the windows, Maya could see the parking lot full of electric cars. The strip mall across the street had charging stations with more vehicles. The residential neighborhood beyond that was full of electric cars parked in driveways and garages attached to houses. "You're talking about hundreds of vehicles," Agent Reyes said, her weapon still trained on Blackwood but her voice betraying concern. "Thousands," Blackwood corrected. "This is a high-density EV adoption area. And all those vehicles are filled with lithium-ion batteries that burn at over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Imagine the chaos. Cars exploding in parking lots, garages burning down with families inside, charging stations turning into infernos. You'd kill innocent people just to cover up your conspiracy?" Miguel asked, his voice filled with disgust. "I'd demonstrate why questioning certain technologies is inadvisable," Blackwood replied. "Maya's discovery threatens a program worth billions of dollars and decades of development. Sometimes the cost of maintaining security requires difficult decisions." "There's something you didn't account for," she said quietly. Blackwood's attention shifted to her. "And what's that?" "You're standing in a repair shop that specializes in electric vehicle systems. We know exactly how those batteries work, how they're protected, and how to stop them from overheating." She gestured toward the emergency equipment mounted on the shop walls. "Fire suppression systems designed for electrical fires. Coolant systems for overheated batteries. And most importantly," she pointed to a large red switch near the main electrical panel. "Emergency power isolation that cuts all electrical current to the building and creates a Faraday cage effect. That won't stop my device." "No," Maya interrupted, "but it will stop your signal from reaching its targets. And Agent Reyes, when I flip that switch, you'll have about 30 seconds in the dark before the backup power kicks in. 30 seconds to take him down." Agent Reyes nodded grimly. "Do it." Maya lunged for the emergency switch as Blackwood's finger pressed down on his detonation device. The shop plunged into absolute darkness as every electrical system died simultaneously. In the blackness, she heard the sound of struggle, a brief cry of pain, and then silence. When the emergency lighting flickered back on, Agent Reyes was standing over Blackwood's unconscious form, the detonation device safely in her possession. Signal blocked, she announced. No vehicles were affected. Crisis contained. Maya slumped against the wall, her legs suddenly too weak to support her. She had prevented a disaster that could have killed hundreds of people and destroyed countless homes. But more than that, she had proven that understanding technology, really understanding it, not just using it, was perhaps the most important skill in a world where systems could be turned into weapons. Is it over? Her father asked, helping her stay upright. Agent Reyes looked at the disabled device in her hands, then at the young woman who had just prevented a technological terrorist attack. This part is over. But Maya's work is just beginning. Maya felt a surge of confusion mixed with hope. She hadn't contacted anyone, hadn't even known who to contact. But someone had been watching, someone had been listening. Agent Reyes approached the group, her attention focusing on Maya. You're the young woman who identified the remote control capabilities? Yes ma'am. Impressive work. Our technical teams have been trying to prove the existence of this program for 6 months. You cracked it in a few hours with basic diagnostic equipment. Blackwood stepped forward, his voice regaining some of its earlier confidence. Agent Reyes, I believe there's been a significant misunderstanding. This is a classified government program with appropriate oversight and authorization. These individuals have stumbled onto sensitive but legitimate technology. Oh, Mr. Blackwood, Agent Reyes replied, her tone conversational but deadly. We know exactly what this program is. What we didn't know was the scope, the timeline, or the elimination protocols for security risks. She gestured to her companions who moved to flank Blackwood and his men. You see, the Federal Transportation Safety Commission wasn't informed of any authorized testing of remote vehicle control systems. Neither was the Department of Transportation, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or any other legitimate oversight body. Maya watched the confrontation unfold, trying to process the rapid shift in power dynamics. Then who authorized it? She asked. Nobody, Agent Reyes replied grimly. This is a rogue operation, funded through black budget allocations and implemented without congressional oversight or judicial review. In simpler terms, it's illegal. Blackwood's face had gone from confident to calculating to genuinely afraid. You don't understand the security implications. I understand them perfectly, Reyes cut him off. A shadow network capable of controlling millions of vehicles, triggering fatal accidents on demand, and eliminating inconvenient individuals while maintaining plausible deniability. What I don't understand is how you thought you could implement something this massive without eventual exposure. He turned to Maya. What gave it away? What made you look deeper than the surface malfunction? Maya thought for a moment. The timing was too perfect. Real system failures are chaotic, unpredictable. This was controlled chaos, designed to look random but following hidden patterns. And the power consumption signatures were wrong for normal vehicle operations. And the remote control conclusion? The frequency patterns Miguel identified, plus the navigation errors Mr. Blackwood mentioned. If you can control where a car goes and when its emergency systems activate. Maya shrugged. It's not really a transportation system anymore. It's a weapon system. Agent Reyes nodded approvingly. Our technical assessment exactly. Mr. Blackwood, you and your associates are under arrest for conspiracy, unauthorized modification of transportation systems, and, given your recent threats against civilians, conspiracy to commit murder. As her companions moved to restrain Blackwood and his men, Reyes continued speaking to Maya. You've uncovered something that could have fundamentally altered the relationship between citizens and their government. The ability to control personal transportation, to track every movement, to eliminate threats with the push of a button. It's the infrastructure of a police state. How many people knew? Harrison asked, his voice shaky. More than should have, fewer than feared, Reyes replied. This operation required significant resources and coordination, but it was compartmentalized. Most participants thought they were working on legitimate safety systems or law enforcement tools. Only a small core group understood the full scope. She looked back at Maya. What you've done today isn't just about exposing one illegal program. You've demonstrated that even the most sophisticated surveillance and control systems have vulnerabilities. They depend on complexity, on people not looking too closely, not asking the right questions. Sometimes it takes an outsider, someone without preconceptions, to see what's really happening. Agent Reyes looked at the disabled device in her hands, then at the young woman who had just prevented a technological terrorist attack. This part is over. But Maya's work is just beginning. Thank you for staying with me through this journey of discovery and courage. Maya's story reminds us that sometimes the most important truths are hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone brave enough to ask the right questions. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who believe in the power of curiosity and the importance of holding systems accountable. The future belongs to those who dare to look beneath the surface and demand answers. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your questions sharp.